The Tipping Point Show.
What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Once again, welcome to another week of the Tipping Point Morning Show. It's yours truly, Mr. Just Ask Joe, as well as my host, my brother from another mother, Brother John Ya. How you doing today, family?
Peace, brother. I am doing as great as I can be, man. How about yourself this morning?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. And I tell you what, it's rainy and cloudy.
Yeah.
But it's still a beautiful day. It's still a beautiful day, and that is the thing, man. It's a beautiful day, and you know, you have gratitude and just enjoy either way. It doesn't matter. It's still a beautiful day. The earth got to get its water, you know, the plants out there, all that good stuff. Folks, we want to encourage you, WLOUonline.com. You can always ride with us, even if you're connected in that manner. WLOUonline.com. You can even check us out at YouTube. Just hashtag the Tipping Point Show, right? So that's all you need. YouTube, the Tipping Point Show, and Grand Rising out there on social media. Grand Rising, sis, Layla Hampton there. Grand Rising, Phyllis Myers. Grand Rising there. Hey, Layla's had a lot of. She's posting already. Yes, gratitude, and she's had a lot of things to be grateful about this week alone. Just watching the kids at Liberated Minds doing their chess game thing, man. They've been busy. And I even rapped with Corbin Sievers a little bit, and man, they've been busy. So congratulations to winning you guys' first chess match, folks. We have locally here in Louisville, Kentucky, we have people out there that are focused on liberating the minds of these young children as we start talking about homeschooling and things of that nature. If you haven't been having that conversation at home, then you need to start, because you got to remember one thing. Our U.S. government gets what it pays for. Okay, just remember that, folks. Our U.S. government gets what it pays for. So what that means is, if they wanted scholars all over this country, well, they would have that, right? But that's not what they want. Okay, so you got to understand that if you go somewhere and you pay for something, then you want what you pay for. So you know, our U.S. government does not want more than what they pay for. They're getting exactly what they pay for. We are at the bottom of the list in math and science among other organized countries around the world. As a matter of fact, I was looking yesterday, John, and there's a shortage of cybersecurity professionals in the United States. There's a shortage of that. So, you know, you start thinking about that, and that is kind of wild, just to think about the fact that there's a shortage of something like that. So, you know, that's something where we all definitely need to start thinking about how we push our kids towards doing certain things, right? How we push our kids towards doing certain things. What do you think about some of that when you start talking about how we're compared among other countries, among other organized countries, John?
You know, it's interesting because we're just talking to Frank about a gentleman that was a master electrician, and how we don't talk about the trade in the world of just getting a simple trade. And it's interesting how when we're talking about us as a people, why do we compare ourselves to another instead of focusing on where we are in this position of life? And I think that's the problem. One of the things we have a great ability to survive. But what we do basically, if we feel like if we don't have their degree or their approval, then we feel less than, you know, and that's interesting. I can have a conversation and I definitely reach out to those who are the ADOS, who are the people who are the reparationists, those who are focused on reparations, when you have that conversation, but you have a conversation about self-reliance and being able to pull your bootstrap, even when we talk about local businesses or black-owned businesses, when you talk to people like that, they compare your achievement to the trillion-dollar achievements of what white people have gained. And what happens when you do that? You diminish your accomplishments. You make your accomplishments that small when it's really a huge thing. So that's one of the things I think we have when it comes to our growth as individuals first, and as a community of melanated people second. And one of the biggest problems when it comes to that second, melanated people, we have so many different factions, or we have so much, the disunity is there, where we're not supporting each other. We're not celebrating each other's achievements, because there is a self-hate that deals with, when I want to say self-hate, I don't mean you so much hate yourself. I mean you hate those that look like you, to where you don't see their achievement as your achievement.
But do you
I talk to Layla a lot.
Do you think that's a conscious thing though?
I'm not sure. It is a conscious thing, but somehow, when we're just like you and I putting this show together, and we want to highlight Black businesses, we want to highlight our achievements, right? And just like I was speaking about Layla and her achievements, and when we compare the $1 trillion market or the school system, we take ours and we diminish it as though it's nothing. So you take Layla, and here she is doing the teaching, and she's awesome, by the way, and what she's putting together. But if you compare it to the big school system, you make her look very small, but hers is huge if you elevate it and look at it from that piece, right? That she's doing something no one else is doing. And this is where we don't understand how to celebrate our achievement. We're so busy trying to compare it to something that is out of our reach. And that becomes our issue, where now we look at each other and we downplay each other's achievements as no greatness. And that's one of the issues we have amongst our people.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think I kind of feel like it's internalized. I don't really feel like it's I think it's more subconscious than anything else, personally, because I don't think anyone that looks like us really walks around, sees another one of us or some other of us, and says, I don't like them, but there is something within us that would have us, some of us, potentially do more for the boogeyman that has been that boogeyman their whole life. And then when it comes to looking at us or doing for us, then we're more prone to look away. And I think it's an internalized hatred, in a sense, or an internalized racism, even, if you will, because if you out at a nice restaurant and you see them over there laughing and joking and being loud and obnoxious, most of the times you're gonna look and be like, them niggas over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
you gonna look and then you start differentiating the Black people versus niggas, and so I think that there's something that is embedded within us that has been maybe it was initially pointed out, and then we took the baton and continued to self-teach ourselves that hatred and that internalized racism, per se. So, I think now the solution, as I've said, man, everybody can't go. that's the only, when I talk about the solution, man, that's the only part, because I just look and I say, there's too many of us that are out there in the public eye in whatever way that create this negative thing with us. We glorify the worst of the worst, and we put it out there, and that becomes, part of our stereotype. And ultimately, with so many different things going on, so many images and sounds that are not as uplifting, then I don't see how there could be an end all be all to, okay, us as a people about face, and we go up. You know what I mean? All together. That's why I just say everybody can't go. You know, and that's not just us as a people. That's the human race, because there are negatives on
Correct.
both sides. You know, and really,
Correct.
you know, if y'all stop playing and go research some things, you go look at the census and things of that nature. Um, they don't have as many of them. The boogeyman that we had before, it ain't as many of them no more. They just sat there and tried to claim the Latino community as their own. They claimed the Arabic community as their own, and ultimately, that's what pumps their numbers up to that 76%. You know,
Correct.
you look it up, and you see them at 76%. You know, bruh, go break it down, because that consists of at least about a 15 to 20 percentile of the Latino community that they try to claim, right? So, you know, you know, if you ever go research that, you'll be amazed to know that, yeah, when you start talking about, you know, how many of them there are or whatever in America, then ultimately there is a much lower number than you realize, and it's simply because I mean, it's magic man stuff, man. It's, you know, they playing with the numbers, making you feel inferior when you're not. What would you
You
say?
know what's interesting? We're talking about the self-hate, and it reminded me of this word called counsel culture.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
this where we counsel an individual out because they said something that we didn't like. And who created the counsel culture, and who's doing it to who? You don't hear white people using that word counsel culture. In fact,
man.
this is our termination. This is our understanding. Think about what just happened with Dave Chappelle. And I don't know, I was quite confused of why black people would scream counsel him because he made the statement. So I listened to it and I said, well, what did he say wrong? And where are we getting this information from that we as a people, melanated people, will go against another person who is successful? And the only thing I can think that is this. Let me tell you who the counsel culture is. Those who are in you are the ones that are poor, broke, and disenfranchised, and you feel like you are hopeless. And so, therefore, it is easy to go after somebody that you think is wealthy because you see the wealth as your enemy. And so, if you look at it, like it reminded me of the sister that bailed out R. Kelly, who was a friend of his, a business friend of his that apparently he helped out in her business. And years later, you know, R. Kelly getting in trouble. Of course, you know, black people are rallied up against him because of the victim movement or the Me Too movement. And so now we don't care about the evidence. Evidence wasn't even there. And so the sister that got him out, you know, black people protested and boycotted her business. And I'm like, wow, you know, we don't do white people that way. We don't look at white people and say, oh, you bailed him out. We're going to boycott you. We're going to shut your business down. And why do we do that? Because we want to see that individual just as broke as we are. Why do we go after someone's income of how they feed their family? Only people that do that and support that behavior are people who are broke, busted, and disgusted, and they want everyone else on that level. And this is why individuals like ourselves cannot celebrate our success from our own people. You got some, but most of you Negroes just will not do it. Like they say, all kin folks, all look-alike folks are not kin folks. That's just a fact, right? Because we have a serious problem, and I was just talking to someone this morning, my brother Frank, and he was making it something plain to me, that some of these Negroes will turn you in. And in the midst of this conversation that you and I have been having the last few weeks about the Constitution, I asked this question for black people. those of you who are melanated are listening right now. Where is your stance when it comes to your constitutional rights being trampled upon? Meaning that there's a difference between the Constitution and the government. When the government tramples on your constitutional rights, you get silent up until someone kills one of you, like a police officer. That's the only time black people rally. Other than that, we're silent on so many things. And so I love to challenge the ADOS. Where are you on the mandate? I see the Republicans are pushing back, Republican governor push back, but guess what? Metro Louisville correction have a shortage because people are stepping down and resigning because of the mandate. See, people, it's not that, I'm against the vaccination, period. I tell you that right now. But it's not most of the people are against the vaccination. They are anti-mandate. And so I'm asking black people, I'm asking those who are melanated, who lived in this country, who know your rights can be trampled upon and taken from you. Where are your stands? Why ain't you screaming out about this constitutional pushback that they're doing? They're slowly taking your rights away. They're slowly, the Biden administration is being sued by the Florida governor. The Biden administration just trying to issue the IRS to do what? To look at your account if you are spending more than $600. Who are they talking about? You poor black man. And where are your stance on that? I hear no black person. I hear no group of black people standing up and speaking out against that.
Is that them trying to jump into Cash App and all that? I think, they're trying to regulate Cash App and everything.
Had the money to Cash App.
I mean, but
so we got a caller.
I tell you what, well, caller, welcome to the Tipping Point Morning Show. Again, folks, 502-776-1350. Call in whenever you like. Welcome to the show. What's your name? What's on your mind?
I'm the going on.
What's going on, family? What's on your mind?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me.
I think you're cutting out.
I got a new phone. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Right, who's calling in?
All right. I'm the etc.
Hey, what's up, brother?
Good morning,
how you doing, family?
John Guy. What's going on, Joe?
Good morning, bro.
What's going on?
Yes,
Peace, guys. I was just calling in because y'all touched on y'all just got to Dave Chappelle and the whole cancel culture movement. I think it's ridiculous. In my eyes, in the last special, Dave Chappelle, matter of fact, in all the specials, Dave Chappelle really didn't do much of anything wrong. He probably ruffled feathers in the last few specials. The closer to me was a way to bring it home and bring it full circle, and also to be a tribute to his trans friend that was somehow lost in translation. I don't understand it. I really don't get it. And to me, if anybody has a problem with it of the trans community, they really didn't watch it from beginning to end. They most likely just saw clips, and we need to really stop doing this. It's intellectually lazy.
Yeah, those are the same people who sit there and just read the thing that when your text messages come on your phone, you read the little bit of notification in the notification window and don't realize there's a whole lot more text there. Yeah, y'all just read the surface stuff.
Oh my, and would rather be enraged by it than be informed of what's really going on. Like I said, it's intellectually lazy, man, and we need to get rid of that. We need to cancel that culture. The intellectually lazy culture needs to be canceled.
Yeah.
If you see a headline and you don't read the article, I don't want to hear from you. If you see a clip and you don't watch the whole thing, what that clip is actually about, I don't want to hear from you. Because we got to stop doing this. We got to stop being in an uproar, because the powers that be, that's where they want us. They want us intellectually lazy. They want us to waste our time and our energy on emotion. instead of being informed and taking action. That's all I was speaking on, but like, I appreciate y'all talking on that this morning.
Hey, appreciate you calling
in.
Appreciate
you, brother, for calling in.
You know, now think about that, man. I mean, he's right. You know, in my opinion, I know personally, I sat there and I made a post, right, John? I made a post. It was a CNN coverage, and I just screenshot the article. It was a picture of a young girl. Now, this young girl was obviously at 10 years old, very heavyset, right? And the article from CNN read something along the lines of parents of Virginia girl are still trying to figure out how their healthy, 10-year-old daughter dies from COVID. Now, my comment about that was that we need to start redefining what healthy means. But most people didn't get into reading the post. They saw the picture of the little girl, and the fact that I made any post about that article, that national article, they took offense right away and said, you shouldn't be talking about a little. I said, I'm not talking about the little girl. I'm going into a whole lot more in this post that I made. Read it. I'm talking about our responsibility as adults and parents as it pertains to keeping our kids healthy and things of that nature. I'm talking about the ability to fight COVID, even as an obese person, that if you give your body the right medicinal value, you can fight COVID. I'm talking about the seriousness and the problem to where an obese person has to deal with breathing issues already. And now you incorporate corporate COVID into an unhealthy body. So there was a whole lot more conversation there. But most people, they got stuck on just seeing the picture of look emotions. You don't think that CNN did that on purpose when they put that young girl's picture there? They wanted people to get messed up emotionally over this, right? Because there's an agenda to move you in a particular direction. And until people see that, then they allow their emotions to overcome them. And we don't have real conversations anymore because you're stuck on the emotional side of this, and you're not actually being intellectually astute, which would be the opposite, right, of intellectually lazy. So you're not being intellectually astute enough to go and dig into the real article, or go and dig into the real post, or go and move your thumb down a little bit more to read some more. Why? Because you don't have time. You got to go and do this. Why? Because social media pushes you to move like this. And all you do is just you dip in, you dip out, and you're not having real conversations about stuff because of that. It's crazy. And as we talk about social media, we can't talk about that without talking about the big news of this week, which is how Facebook changed its freaking name. What's the new name, John? Metaverse. Now, I know another word, universe. And then there's metaverse. So it's as if they're trying to create an alter universe. So now, I hope y'all are reading up on this and keeping up on this, but with that in mind, you already got enough people walking around with their heads stuck in their phones, walking down the street, about to get hit by cars, this, that, and the other. I think the government took away the point system. We can't roll people over with our cars anymore and get points like, when I was growing up. But with that in mind, people walk around, you got to avoid them and whatnot because they're stuck in their phones, walking down the street or whatever, right? Because you got all these apps, you got that do different things, and people talking to each other, and you can see people, tourists and whatnot, as they doing their videos and whatnot, walking down the street. And now Facebook with the Metaverse University, and I looked it up. Yes, Oculus. I got something right here. I have some goggles right here in my hand, folks. These are virtual reality goggles. Got them with my phone a few years ago, and I can plug this. plug this phone right into these goggles, and I can step into a virtual world. Oculus is part of that metaverse thing as well. So they are focused on a Sims-like reality where you have your doppelganger, and now there's this whole universe, and you can now go into that universe and you buy clothes for your doc. Hey, already right now, kids are spending money in video games on fake things, fake cartoon video game characters. People use their real money, which is still a figurative term, but they use their real money to pay for fake stuff for their doppelganger right now in video games. So they're focused on bringing all this stuff together. Now, you can't tell me that every doggone futuristic movie we've been watching since we was a kid is not now coming to fruition. I mean, I think that's wild. What you think about it, John? You gonna get yourself a doppelganger?
Man, let me tell you. One thing I can say is that in this world today, this 40 and under world is living this world of a microwave life. And when I came up, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have beepers, we didn't have internet. You communicated with people by face-to-face reality. Mama would tell you, go next door to Betty's and get some eggs or get some sugar. Wasn't no texting, can you bring me something, right? So it was, nowadays we got this microwave lifestyle. We want things fast. Like the brother said, the intellectual laziness. And this is what happens when you get your degree off of YouTube or the internet or Google, and you suddenly think you know everything because you don't want to do any real work that takes to build it. So what's the microwave like? Before microwaves, we had to cook our food and took time. You season it, right? You heat your food up properly, right? And so now you're living in a microwave oven where women don't know how to cook, men don't either. And we are lined up at the fast food places nowadays. So when you're talking about giving a lecture or giving a talk, that's too long. People want information real quick now. And so this is what you were saying about you put the information out, they only see the headline and they run with it without taking the time to reading the whole article. This is where we are in this lifestyle. And speaking about this universe, this metaverse, which is a virtual reality, and a lot of us
and
walk into that realm.
It's mixed,
look
John.
at a lot of people.
They actually mix a bunch of things in there. They say AR, which is altered reality, which I didn't realize there was, a thing with that. But yeah, there's AR, altered reality, and then there's VR, which is virtual reality. So you got altered reality. It probably is just what it sounds like. And then virtual reality, where the altered reality is what you see there in that virtual world of virtual reality, giving you the ability to almost physically be there. But yeah, go ahead, man.
Well, and this virtual reality, which is an illusion on top of an illusion, people live into this world, this animative a world where we can make ourselves to be who we want to be. You can put filters on your pictures and put it out there, and that's not who you really are. You know that's not who you really are. So you can live this life just the same as this transgender world. So imagine now you can go into a world in virtual reality and you can pick and be anything you want to be. This is already being set up right now today. Listen, there was an article that I was reading and then I saw Candace Owens talk about this called puberty blockers, where you can have your doctor, your child's doctor, by the permission of the parent, to give your child what is called a puberty blocker shot. What is that? That blocks your development from child to an adult. Meaning that if your child says, hey, I'm a girl, and he's really a boy, the mother can take him to a doctor to give him shots. Now, this little boy don't know any better. He's getting this stuff from this virtual reality, shit's on TV, what's on the media, what's on social media. And so now he goes and say, "Oh, I want to be a girl." The mama can go take him, sign off, and give him puberty blocker shot, which was block him developing, him realizing that I'm not a girl, I'm actually a boy, right? And so this blocks him from going. Can you imagine? And right now, today, people who are transgenders who go through this as a child become most depressed. They're the highest in suicide rate because they're confused in this virtual reality world we're living in. So I can only imagine this metaverse is going to take it to a total another level in our mentality. If you can see the people today, people are overweight, make avatars that they're thin. And so you can now put on these gargles, and instead of your behind getting off your butt, going to spend $15 a month and getting your butt to a gym somewhere, you will hide behind metaverse or this virtual reality that you want to be to make yourself happy, while constantly you're feeding on chips and the bad food that's keeping you sick. I think we're stepping into a whole new world, and I think it's sad for my grandbaby coming up. This is why I will not allow her to go to public school and allow her to be taught this craziness. Thank you, Layla, for what you do, because my grandbaby would definitely. She's teaching my grandbaby now, and I'm so happy that I have this circle around me, because man, my child's not going to no public school with this mess going on. We're going into a world of serious delusion. A lot of people are going to be mentally ill over this.
Bro, it's crazy to think about it. And again, yes, shout out to Layla for what she does, because I've been around you and your grandbaby, and I mean, she's sociable, she's fun, she's funny. There's people, I think, have these ideas about homeschool and things of that nature. I think that homeschool, when you have people that care like a Layla, then you get into kids that can be much more sociable and more apt to jump out in society and take control and do things. You know what I mean? So shout out to definitely what she does. But my thing, John, why isn't anybody like? I mean, don't people see the ladder that we've climbed? Don't people see how all of this stuff connected? I mean, first you got filters on Facebook that smooth your skin and whatnot. I mean, I've seen some people out there that, without them filters, bruh, their skin don't look that great. So now you're ignoring the fact that you probably boo-boo once a week, which is why your skin looks bad, because your body's got to get toxins out some kind of way, right? So you're not paying attention to the physical issues with your body happening on the inside that you need to take care of. Why? Because you, as far as you're concerned, you look like that filter. You know what I mean? So when you think about that, and people, just kind of getting caught up like that, I mean, it reminds me of, I'm sorry, but every futuristic movie I've ever seen where people are plugged in. They don't do nothing. They stay, they order food, have it, ordered to them, because now it's so cheap to do that, and they just sit in their universe. And then some people, they go to work in there, and I'm telling you, that's the next thing that's coming, is the ability to go into this virtual reality and somehow work your job. It's coming, man. And so now you're just gonna have a bunch of people sitting at home, no exercise or nothing, just having heart attacks and dying. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I'm scared. And
blaming it on COVID.
You say what?
And dying and blaming it on COVID, instead of getting off their butt and getting to a gym and working out and losing that extra fat, that blubber they have on them, that's weighing their immune system down, right? That extra weight, that is what is called waste, not weight. Waste. You're carrying extra waste inside your body, and instead of you figuring out how to get rid of that, you rather sit and watch television and movies and eat more crap.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. But look, I want to encourage everybody. 502-776-1350 if you want to call in and just chat it up real quick. Again, 502-776-1350. Here's a good question. Layla says we must resist. Can we resist? That's a good question right there. Can people resist what is to come? Because at some point you got to look at it and say, hold up, this don't look too good. Something's not right. Right? You got to look at it and say something is not right, because there's no way that you could truly be cool with that direction. Moving into this virtual world, we sat here and watched this stuff growing up, bro, and it's happening. It's crazy. It's happening. But look, let me give a big shout out real quick to Health Daddy Wow. Again, Health Daddy Wow LLC, folks. I want you to understand something. Right out at 1806 Ralph Avenue, here in Louisville, Kentucky, you can walk right in to Health Daddy Wow, right? And with that in mind, you can check them out online at healthdaddywow.net. All right. They actually have an awesome website. You can shop right from the website. I'm actually sitting on the website right now, from a lot of their tabs, from health, beauty. They got beauty oils. They have essential oils. They even have miscellaneous jewelry. I was in there, and they have, for those that like to roll their own tobacco, even they have real crystal pipes, right? So, with that in mind, you can make some magic happen. But so even on the jewelry side, they have all type of naturalistic, jewelries and purses and beads and all of that stuff. So if you want to get in touch with yourself and your spirit, then you can check out healthdaddywow.net, as well as walk right in there, folks. Tell them you heard it on the Tipping Point Morning Show. Okay, make sure they know that this is all working out well. Tell them you heard it on the Tipping Point Morning Show. You can also check out sayababa.com. That's SYABABA.com. Again, that is Abibi Toomey Trading Company, right? So you've got some of the best incense in the tri-state area, from Tennessee to Ohio to Kentucky. Some of the best incense there in over 400 locations, right? And with that in mind, I'm telling you, when you smell any of it, right? I've seen this man use his bare hands to make incense, right? That's yours truly, Brother John Yah. And I tell you, he cares, all right? He won't even let people work on the day that they walk in if they have a bad attitude. If they have a bad attitude, they can't even work, all right? Because he doesn't want any of their stink on his products. Why? Because he cares about you. That's SYABABA.com, Abibi Toomey Trading Company. That is the Sayababa incense and soap sticks incense products. I believe some car sprays are coming out soon as well, folks. You got oils as well. So definitely make sure you check them out and tell them that you heard it right here on the Tipping Point Morning Show. All right. So we're going to go in some more. Again, 502-776-1350. If you want to call in, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. If you're listening online on social media, you can call in 502-776-1350. If you're outside of the country, which some of our listeners are, just put a 1 in front of that. 1-502-776-1350. And you can get in and have a conversation with John Yah and I. John, I know you got something on your mind there, because I see you taking notes. What's going on? What's your thoughts?
No, I was thinking about the comment Layla made about we must resist. And that's one of the things that I'm really touching on the last few weeks on the Constitution and understanding. My objective here is to get you to understand the separation between the government and the Constitution. There are two different entities, right? The government and the Constitution. The government is one thing they do. The Constitution, whether or not do they have the right to do it. And I'm a person that loves to stand on the Constitution. I'm gonna tell you, the Constitution is what will protect your rights. Now, what is the government? The government is this entity that can trample on your rights, Joe Biden and other people, right? So let me give you an example of how it works. Me, myself, I was convicted of a crime, and even if I committed the crime, if they violate my rights on the due process, because of the Constitution, they must reverse that conviction. That's just how powerful the Constitution is. See, it was the government that violated my rights. The police officers, the state, the prosecutor, all that government is, those people you vote for, legislatures, those senators, the governors, the mayors, that's the government. And so when the government tramples on your rights, lawyers, judges, right? There's a constitution that says, nope, you can't do that. Reverse it. You're not right. This is where you can file lawsuits against companies and individuals because your constitutional rights. So I need for you to truly understand the rights of our Constitution. It is not the government. We need to understand that we need to have less trust in the government and more belief in our Constitution. So what you are watching, Black men and women, right now today, is a violation of your constitutional rights, particularly your First Amendment when it comes to these mandates. You have a First Amendment right to deny or resist against the mandate. You have a constitutional right. And this is why I'm going to point out, Black people, I don't care who you are, I don't care what your gripe is. If you're not talking about this constitutional right now, what's going on, you ain't talking about nothing but distraction. If you're not talking about how the Constitution needs to be protected and stop the Democratic Party or any party from turning back that constitutional clock, you ain't talking about nothing. I don't care what happened in the media, what you think going on. Here's something else that's interesting. There's a great distraction too. This president is trying to offer $450,000 per person who was separated during the crisis on the border during the time Bush was in.
Hey, hold on. Say that again. How much they offering?
$450,000 per person. So it's $400 per parent. $400,000 per parent.
Now this was
and then $50,000 for the child per child.
Was this when the Haitians were sitting there at the border?
Nothing.
No, I'm just trying
absolutely nothing. So
who was separated? Who was separated at the border?
This was during the time Trump was in office. You remember back during the people who was crossing over, their children and parents were separated.
I'm just trying to figure out, because if it is from Haiti and people are separated from Haiti, then I am Haitian and I parle Creole. So I need to go and collect my money. Okay, I need to collect my money.
So here's what's interesting. Biden did this, and you know good and well, Congress is not going to pass that. But listen to the triggers. The trigger would be, well, wait a minute, you're going to give them reparations and you ain't gave us reparations? You know, you're going to give them something that happened just a few years ago, but you ain't did nothing for us that happened 400 years ago. Now, you just brought up the Haitians. I forgot all about the Haitians, right? But
they was at the border too.
I know it. So these are trick words, or trigger words for people to get you off what the focus should be. Knowing good and well he's not going to give no $450,000 per person who are separated from their children. They say he's releasing $1 billion, over $1 billion to do this.
Listen, my friend, I tell you, in my country, in Cuba, we separated, man. I needed the $450,000, man. I needed that, man. Okay. And listen, I'm going to be transgender because they say girls get more. So I'm going to be transgender and I'm going to change, man, to a girl so I get more money, man. Okay? You got a problem, man? Hey, listen. They got transgender passports. So the transgender passports are here. So now you know, however you need to do it. If I want to go and smoke and screen and try to get some of that $450,000 you're talking about, I might need to change myself into a girl, use my transgender passport, get over to one of those countries that's supposed to be receiving the money per person that was separated. Bruh, I'm just seeing too many things that are intermingling that could be so problematic when you start talking about identity. But then again, will you have that problem because, hey, if we model after China, then when it comes to identity, you won't be able to go nowhere with facial recognition technology popping up and everything.
Exactly.
You know, but bruh, I'm just thinking our world is changing very fast, and there's still people out here that are talking about getting back to normal. All right, they keep saying getting back to normal, and there isn't a normal. It's just a new normal. Now, brother Reeves, there. Shout out to you, JL Reeves. The prediction for the plantation being back in full swing in 2052, per Dr. Claude Anderson, due to the lack of preparation for independence by melanated people in the United States. Hey, he asked the question, did 2020 hit that part hard? I mean, think about that. You know, the prediction for the plantation being back in full swing in 2052, because what's happening is we're separating ultimately the haves and the have-nots. So I feel like it's going to be a new plantation. You know, and a new plantation where it ain't gonna be just us. It's gonna be, you know, black, white, yellow, and blue. It's gonna be the haves versus the have-nots. When you start talking about that plantation, they're gonna limit the jobs that's needed to be done, and then commune people into you know, these only specific jobs, because these specific jobs, you know, help provide power to the rest of the country, or what have you. These specific jobs help provide food over here to the rest of the country, and they just gonna give people a monthly stipend, kind of like what they realized they could do during this pandemic, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm thinking, you know, a few different things now. Um, just looking at some of the conversation here when it comes to that, how does the vaccine and COVID fit into this conversation about the plantation coming back in full swing by 2052? How do you think that COVID fits into that conversation, John?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the 2052 to go that far. I believe that the plantation exists right now in individuals' consciousness. I think individuals who are afraid to step out and create their own income, you are inside of a plantation. Those of you who are afraid to lose your job and stand up for your rights, most of you who are taking the vaccine, you're not taking it for your health. You're taking it because most of you are taking it because you're afraid of losing your job. I've heard many people say that they're taking it because they want the freedom to travel. You are actually in the plantation in your subconscious mind. No, it already exists. See, sometimes we want to point outwards, but don't know that actually what you see on the outside is really what you think on the inside. And so the plantation works like this. It is through fear. This is how the plantation works. It's always the fear. If you look at the laws and look at slaves being on the plantation physically, they feared running. Well, look at individuals in your own thoughts. Your thought patterns have fear that keeps you from thinking something, that keeps you from addressing something in your head. Like when I give a talk about what is your relationship with money? What is your relationship with wealth? Do you know that you have a blockage that is a plantation, that you have a fear of believing yourself of being wealthy? You have a fear of believing that you are an abundant, right? There's a fear there that's blocking you. So there's a fear there about taking this shot. You fear dying. You fear getting sick. There's always a fear. So the plantation is the fear today. So you're talking a whole different mentality. Remember now, what did the slave master have to do to keep you from running off the plantation? He had to pump fear in you first. Other than that, Negroes was running. Negroes was willing to kill the master if he didn't fear him. So if you place fear in the individual, that is the plantation. So you're already walking around the plantation. It ain't got nothing to do with 2052. It's already existing through the fear. One of the things we're talking about, I'll keep bringing up, is the Constitution again. A lot of y'all so much are in fear. Your Constitution that's protecting you. But you are running to get to these doctors. You are fearing trying to do anything better for your health. Why? Because the doctor got you scared. And every time you talk to someone about their health, if a person is already on medication, the doctor done already written you that prescription, you know what blocks you from trying something medicinal or trying something natural? It is fear. Your fear that your doctor says you're going to die, you're going to make your condition worse if you go over there and try to do it natural. What is it? It's called fear. Let them tell you you're going to lose your job. The first thing you think about, oh, I'm going to lose my house. Oh, I'm going to lose my mortgage. Oh, I'm going to lose my vehicle. What are those things? Those things are fear. So the plantation exists today.
And then think about it, man. You know, we've all had however many years we are of age to figure this thing out financially. And yet, here it is, many people still in a situation to where they can't make a move because their job rules them, basically. You know, they have not prepared themselves because we was having too much fun, and they have not prepared themselves to be able to go without their job for a while, however long it takes for you to find another job. Because that's the thing, you can find another job. You know, you sure can. You can get trained in another way. You can, you know, figure something else out. There's plenty of people that left their jobs because of these forced mandates, and they started a business. We've had some people with those stories right here on this show. So it can happen, but you have to focus on preparing yourself. And if you're not focused on preparing yourself in general right now, for everything that you see right now, I mean, y'all got to be looking out there and saying, man, the world is changing quickly. You got to be looking out there and saying that. And if you're not, then I don't know where your head is stuck in. But the world is changing, and we've got to be prepared. So again, that's why we focus on bringing you information about different business ideas and people who have created success in business, especially throughout this pandemic, because we want you to see that it can be done. So we're just trying to bring that to you, to show it to you so you can see that it can be done. You know, folks, the information is out there. Hey, you want some more information? Go hit up justaskjoe.net, right? And you can schedule an appointment with me or what have you. You know, reach out, whatever. We'll talk about some different business ideas. We'll talk about your life insurance. You know, it still amazes me that there's people out here, grown adults, whatever age that they have made it to, and they still have yet to focus on making sure, for life insurance sake, that their family is taken care of if in fact anything happens to them. You know, so even if you saved up, you know, $15,000 and you got that sitting in an account, and you say, okay, so and so daughter, family member, whatever, this money here is strictly for my funeral expenses whenever that day comes, you know, cool. The majority of people have not. You know, 50% of Americans don't even have life insurance, or are not, or don't have enough, right? And it's kind of a shame. It's kind of sad, because people sit and they wait and they wait and they wait, and next thing you know, you are much older, which then it costs way more for coverage. So now you minimize the amount of coverage, and you take on this attitude, well, I just need to make sure there's something there to help with funeral expenses. Right? Instead of saying, all right, I'm gonna leave hundreds of thousands of dollars to the next generation. so they can take it and empower themselves and potentially move forward in life for that generation. You could be responsible for that for the next generation thriving rather than just surviving, simply if you prepare yourself properly. But yet and still, man, this world, there's a lot, man. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot that's changing, and people got to get prepared and get ready for it. So, any last thoughts there? Anything you want to bring to the table there, bro, before we go?
Yeah, definitely. I want to touch on that insurance thing you was talking about. It is one of the number one ways you can build wealth for your family. In fact, reason why people don't, because they don't want to talk about death. There are something that we don't talk about at our table.
Yeah,
we don't talk about business,
too,
and we don't talk
we
about death. We don't talk about getting prepared to die. What are you prepared to die? You're going to die. So why don't you leave something to somebody? Why don't you get you an insurance company? Why don't you get you an insurance policy and prepare yourself to die so that you can leave your family with some money? Quit being so selfish. And here's the thing about us as a people, and this is a fear. Start talking about death, you think you're going to die. You're going to die any damn way. So the point is that why don't you buy some insurance so that you can leave your daughter, your son, your family members, your kids some wealth. This is what white people do, is how they build wealth. You die, hell, your family's got $200,000 or $300,000 to work with. Now teach them business before you die, and there you have it. This is how you build generational wealth. Your ass just might come back to your same family member, but you're broke. So why don't you break the cycle, and break that generational broke wealth by getting you some life insurance for your family.
Man, I just had a close friends of mine, they're like family, but somebody in the family died, and there was plenty of money in an insurance policy, and you got cars that get paid off, you got now the kids that were left get those cars, they don't have to worry about a bill, house getting paid off. I mean, the ability, money doesn't bring a person back, but it doggone sure helps, especially when you're trying to move on, because it's difficult to move on, and you got to deal with creditors calling all over the place for this money from this now dead person, right? But when that money is left, bills get taken care of, and as things are, if there's extra money, you get to go ahead and have it given to the beneficiaries and such like that, or however you wrote your will out, what have you. Folks, it's not a superstition to sit there and talk about making sure that your family is taken care of from beyond the grave. That's actually one of the most selfless acts you could ever perform. So you need to focus on doing that. So I'm gonna leave that as well at the end of this show as something that people need to think about. And look, I'm licensed personally in about 20 different states. John, your daughter has a insurance agency as well. So with that in mind, you got two people here that can help you move towards getting some coverage, folks. I do free quotes, free consultations, justasjoe.net. You can hit me up, schedule a consultation, hit the email button or hit the schedule consultation button. Folks, GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy, and that right there, that comes from Layla, the educator Hampton. She's teaching you yet again, all right? GoFundMe is not a life insurance policy. But again, this has been another week of the Tipping Point Morning Show. We're going to hang out a little bit on the after show. You guys can always join us right here on Facebook. You can comment from YouTube as well. But the Tipping Point radio show on Facebook, the Tipping Point Morning Show on YouTube. Until next week, folks, we will see you once again. Peace out. It's your boy, Mr. Just As Joe, and
John Ya.
Next time, folks.
Peace and be well.
All right, we'll see you next week. All right, give us 1 second as we transition, folks. Right, and here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now, The Tipping Point Show.
All right, folks, we are back yet again to the after show of the Tipping Point Morning Show. And you know, we freeballed some conversation today because we wanted to just give people the opportunity to just kind of talk about whatever, call in, all that good stuff. Right now, in the after show, you have the ability to go ahead and hit us up in any of the comments, whether you on the 502 Black Wall Street page, or whether you're on the Tipping Point radio show page, or let's see, or whether you are checking us out right here on YouTube as well. That's right, the Tipping Point Morning Show from YouTube. Either way, folks, you can rock with us here online on social media, even on the after show. But man, you know, any last thoughts there, man? Because there's really, I mean, it sometimes I wonder if I'm going too far in thinking about stuff, because again, we are moving very swiftly in a particular direction that is familiar, and it's only familiar because of movies and TV. So it's familiar to me because it's starting to everything that we've watched growing up, and I'm a big sci-fi fan. You know, I love that. I grew up on Star Trek and all of that stuff. I mean, I played with transistor radios as a kid, and you know, did a lot of building of electronics and whatnot. So you know, I used to try to, you know, make transistor radios and see if I could reach aliens in outer space and whatnot. You know what I mean? As a kid, you know, trying to boost the signal strength and all this, that, and the other. You know, so you know, I've always had this belief in aliens and robots and sci-fi and all of that. So for me, you know, I'm looking at this and all the movies. It all is starting to. I could literally name a movie almost to every new thing that I'm seeing. You know, and I encourage people, hey, if you get a chance, go look up Black Mirror on Netflix. That whole series, and just the name alone, Black Mirror. But you know, that whole series right there, there's always something futuristic in every series. But man, I'm telling you, it's something where what you'll see, I mean, they talked about this altered universe and whatnot. There's shows on that. I watched one of the episodes again. I watched the whole thing again. I'm watching the whole thing again. There's 5 seasons, and there's only like 3 or 4 shows per season. But they're talking about these altered universes and things of that. And this came out years ago, you know, and it's just amazing. Here we are sitting right at the entrance of a potential new, you know, universe. They have what they call futurist. These are people who study the future and help on the technology side of things when it comes to that. So there was a lady who helped with Amazon and some of the futuristic things in their company that is also on the board helping with Facebook. You know, so it's interesting when you start looking at this and seeing how we are literally moving in that direction of every futuristic movie we've ever seen growing up. You gonna get you a robot, John? I mean, think about it. You could potentially get you a robot or AI that could do the work of 3 or 4 guys and potentially save money. Now, how what's your thoughts at that point? Because I mean, we focus on protecting our bottom line is how we've been taught in business, right? We protect our bottom line. And big businesses out there, they will fire hundreds of thousands of people, hundreds of people, in order to protect the managing board's bottom line, from the CEO on down. I talked with a young lady some years ago, and I seen it happen. And at her corporate office at Fifth Third, they had just hired, several people, 35, 40 people, something like that. And, a few of them were on her floor and this, that, and the other. Like 2-3 weeks later, they fired them all. They let them go. And at that point, the VPs who hadn't gotten their millions of dollars bonus, they already make millions of dollars, right, a year, but they're supposed to get such and such X millions of dollars bonus every year or something like that. They hadn't gotten it in 3 years. So I guess whatever decision came down, they let go of those 35 people that they hired just 2-3 weeks ago. And then the VPs got their money. So it was as if to protect the bottom line, to make those VPs happy, then they had to go ahead and just reverse everything they do so they can siphon money from those other directions to make sure the VPs got paid. But the VPs already make millions of dollars a year. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of big corporations, they won't cut the corporate salaries up top. They will cut the employees and let you know right off the bat that you are just a number. And they'll cut the people and get rid of them. You think you're gonna have a AI if you could cover 2 or 3 people's work at a cheaper rate?
That's a great question, Joe, actually. So in my research inside my industry of incense, the way incense are being made right now has been around for thousands of years. And despite your plugins, your spray fresheners, all these different air fresheners that came in, incense, the stick itself, is still $1 billion market in the United States and the world. Okay. So I just happened to come across an industry that has longevity to it. Seriously, longevity. Now, maybe about 10 years ago, I looked into packaging machines. Now, because incense still have to be partly handmade, part of the sticks now, and I'm gonna do a video on the sticks that are handmade and the sticks that are machine made.
I remember you showed me some of that.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
The fragrance lacing is still handmade. So I looked into machines that could do the packaging, not the dipping part, because that's the lacing, but using machines to do the packaging. Well, looking at the price of the machine coming from overseas, because nobody makes that kind of machine here in the US. And then this machine have to be specifically designed for incense bagging, counting and bagging. And the money was so expensive, I forgot what the machine was going to cost start out, but the maintenance of the machine and through the roof, right? So what we did was this. When I started this, I had a team of people. One side of the table were counting sticks, the counter. Then the other side of the table were baggers, those who were putting the incense in the bag and then putting the labels on it. So what I did was I used and sourced the Chinese to count my sticks and put a ribbon around the sticks. So it stopped us from counting. All we had to do is dip and bag. So it cut my work in half and my price for the product in half due to the label, right? Because the labor of the work is the highest piece to where how you charge what you want to put on that price, right? So I went through that and I just said, you know what? I'm gonna let the Chinese count it. I'm not gonna bring in no machines. I'm still gonna use hand manual packaging. And right now we're good. I'm probably good for the next 10 years before I have to think of anything else of some type of new invention to do to the business. In other words, I researched and looked at. I'm glad you mentioned that future thing because it's very important. In my business, in my business and dealing with my custom brokers, two sides. I got a custom broker who's my shipping custom broker, and I have a custom broker who finds products for me in China, a resource broker. And so what we're doing, basically, I'm trying to look further in the future. I'm trying to see what these prices are going to go. Right now, we just took prices up on certain part of our products because we see the future coming. Things are going to start changing with the shipping, the port, and the pricing overseas. So you're right. There are people in business. If you're not forecasting your business and looking at 10 years from now, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And this is what these people are doing with Facebook. This is what they are doing with Amazon. They're hiring people to look at future. And so what I say to people who are uninvested need to learn to get invested, because here's the thing. This future thing is going to create a gap between the haves and the have-nots. And if you are already in the have-nots, you can change that behavior by changing your habits of your spending habit and your eating habit, your lower desire habits. You can change that to save some money, put some money up, and start investing money so you can move yourself out of the have-nots and make some future investments into things. So you got to be able to see what's coming. Just like you and I talk about investing in companies, you have to be able to see that company, research that company, get out of that, what that brother say, in intellectual laziness, and start studying companies so that you can move your wealth further in the future and not look at what you're making and what you have now. You have to look in the future. I now have to look at 10 years, whether or not my business is going to still be here, and how can I keep it here for the next 10 years.
You know, and that requires work.
Yes.
To do that. You know, that requires time. And those are things that, you know, a lot of people, man, I still run across people that claim to want to do business, right? They want to own business, but they're still talking about how, oh, on my days off, I got so much to do, you know, and I just, you know, I can't, you know, focus on this business because, you know, it's cutting into my me time. Well, let me tell you something. If you want to have a business and you have a job right now, and that's what's supporting you, you are going to have to take those days off, that time after work, and you're going to have to focus on building something for yourself, which is what you're doing. You're building something that you control, something that you have the authority over, something that could potentially support you enough to take you off your job. And that should be one of the goals of starting that part-time business. So, you know, and it's just amazing that people still will sit there and talk about what they want, but they won't put the work in to do it. You know, I right now in starting this agency, you know, there's things that I don't really want to do. You know, I want to have certain days off, this, that, and the other, but essentially I can't always do that, you know, because if not, then I'm not going to grow. I've got to put the time in, I've got to put the work in, I got to put the effort in. So when it comes to that, you know, we have to talk about that. Hey, shout out to Frank Stoner once again, you know, always out there building with us and rapping with us. You know, appreciate you, JL Reeves. You know, yeah, I know you had to step away, but always appreciate you. That brother right there, he's moving on to some big things, and we're having some conversations about it all. So Shout out to Biz Buzz, Miss Maddox there. Absolutely, there's no success in procrastinating. So, you know, and it does get hard because you want to, you know, if you got a family, you want to get back to them. And I get that. You know, at the end of the day, I have a hard time closer to the end of the day because, you know, I want to get back to the family, right? But at the same time, you know, the family's got to understand that, hey, this is how we eat. Right. And the more the time that I can put into this, and with your support, family, then the bigger, the better this business will grow to the point to where I can potentially step away and enjoy more time with you. You know, so, you know, if you want what others don't have, you got to do what others don't do. Exactly. Right. Yeah. So, you know, that's a thing that people just don't think about when it comes to business. You know, look at this. Brother Stoner says 98% of products on TV I don't eat or drink, and that's a good thing. I can't remember the last time I seen them advertising a juicing commercial.
Yeah, right.
You know, on regular mainstream TV. Yeah. I mean, they should, right after the hot wings commercial, it should be a juicer commercial pop up, but that's not going to happen because you might start thinking about being healthy.
Right.
And that would be a big fucking no-no if your dumbass starts thinking about being healthy. No, dumbass, we need to keep you dumb. All right? Because if you start eating healthy, you'll start thinking healthy. You know, you'll have a clearer mind. You'll have, scientifically, you'll have more oxygen flowing to the brain, right? Your blood will get uncoagulated, if you will. You know, meaning your blood will thin out and flow as it should. You know, whereas right now people get coagulated blood, meaning thicker blood, simply because of the foods that they eat and the toxins floating throughout their bloodstream that thickens up their blood. And then you go to the doctor gives you blood thinner medication. Hey, right here at my building, there's a dude, older guy, and he will pick his scabs sometimes. Well, guess what? He bleeds out. Why? Because he's on some blood thinner medication.
Wow.
He's on blood thinner medication. So the ambulance is out here from time to time because this dude would just sit there and pick scabs. Damn. You know, because he just got this habit of picking scabs. But when he does, he bleeds out. Why? Because he's on a particular type of blood thinner medication, you know, that ultimately makes him bleed. But why does he have the blood thinner medication? To thin out the blood to get more oxygen to his heart, because he's got heart troubles. Well, guess what? He could just do a diet change and focus on it that way, but the doctors aren't telling him to do that. No. You know, his family, friends around him aren't telling him to do that. You know, he's not telling himself to do that. Why? Because no one out there, we are led by the media. Oh, you know, here's a great topic. And this is when you start talking about led by the media, why is it that we as adults have a hard time taking on responsibility? I mean, right now, they're trying to point the finger at Facebook and other social media platforms for your child's ills, right? For the issues of your child. It's now Facebook's fault. But you're the adult that allowed your child on their social media. Why is it not your fault?
Right.
You know, why is it not the parents' fault? We're always trying to point the finger elsewhere. You know, oh, the child obesity, child diabetes. That's the parents' fault. You know, and that's the conversation that needs to be had more so, not how to figure out another pill for childhood obesity that we didn't have 20 years ago. You know, every year, an extra 8 pounds or so becomes more normalized every 10 years, every century. An extra 8 to 10 pounds becomes more normalized for the size of a kid. I mean, what the hell happened that now we keep every 10 years saying, it's okay for a 10-year-old to be this weight, you know, up 10 pounds higher 10 years later. It's okay for that kid to be this. Why is that? Why is that okay? What happened? Humans didn't change.
Right. Wow.
You know what I mean? So but those are changes that are had. I don't understand it. And people are not waking up to realize that, like BizBuzz says, they're pushing medication, in healthcare as if everyone is sick. They want everyone to be sick.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all go back and research and look at the money, go back and research when, in the 70s and 80s, when the pharmaceutical companies when they got on the schedule for vaccines, oh man, that financially boosted them to become what they are today, because damn near every country adopted that schedule for vaccine shots. So these companies out there, these pharmaceutical companies, which you start following the money, you start seeing a lot of them are owned by some of the same companies, and bruh, they literally are focused on poisoning you, being in bed with the manufacturing industry, and then trying to appease your ailment or issue with some pill, being in bed with the medical industry, and trying to keep you on that medium point where you stay sick enough to, have a pill to help, but not too sick to die. We need you, not yet. We need you to prolong this for a while because, the insurance company is going to pay for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so again, you start circling back around to, you look at vaccines. Who's paying these? You got free vaccines. Who's paying? We are, folks, because the government's paying them.
That's right.
So the money's gonna come back to us at some point. And you talk about Social Security not being around in another 50 years, this, that, and the other, all that hard work you're doing out there, and you put money into Social Security, they snatching it up.
Especially if your ass is dying before you 65 to get the Social Security anyway. They get you.
Man.
They gonna feed you crap, put you on medication, and tell you can't get this Social Security till you're 65. You ain't gonna make it to 65. Shit.
Man, some people ain't. I was looking at another show where futuristically they have this early retirement plan that they're working on, and what happens is you get to retire early, and a robot comes and takes your place, right? And so they're pimping AI pretty hard to where the artificial intelligence, now they're talking about the ability, and this is in this show, I think it's called something like Smarter Than Us or something like that. Better Than Us, I think is what it's called. It's on Netflix, and they said they're creating AI that now can understand human emotion. So it's no longer just the regular bot. And in this show, right, bots have become normalized. So when an ambulance pops up, it's bots that come out with the stretcher and pick up the person and put them in there, right? It might be a human that drives, but the bots do the labor. So in this show, bots have taken over jobs from humans. And so you have a group of people that are the resistance that are trying to fight against this because bots are taking our jobs and everything else. And you have those that have conformed, and bots are normalized in society. And so now they look at upgrading the bots to where instead of them being these emotionless beings, they can now learn and understand human emotions and learn from that and begin to react within themselves. And there's this newest bot that came out, and that bot has it got taken away from his owner, the creator of this one specific bot, and now that bot has taken on a family and has connected to this family emotionally, and now protects that family. So it's just interesting when you start looking at this, because none of this is far-fetched. We're moving in that direction. They already have robots that do work in factories and things of that nature, right? From packaging to everything else. But every time a new bot comes out or something, it eliminates a human job. So think about going into the grocery store. I have friends of mine, their family, the mom retired from Kroger's. So her, along with the whole family, they don't use any of the automated registers because, you know, she was once working, you know, she retired from Kroger's. And so, like she said, every time you put one of those new automated registers up, that takes the job of a human.
Correct.
So somebody's out of work.
Yes.
You know, I'm gonna tell you what, folks, if you become out of work because a robot or something took your job, you better go and find the certification on how to work on them robots.
Exactly.
That's the next thing, you know, after that.
Now, people better find another way, because that's true. The robots, they're going to allow the robots to take a lot of your jobs, specifically in factories. So you definitely have to look at something else. And you know, we're kind of really, in a way, we are, like the brother was talking about, the mental enslaved part that I was speaking on. We're kind of dependent on this so much. We are now dependent on them growing our food. We don't want to learn how to grow our own food. We don't want to move away from this matrix type of society. So then whatever they do and change is going to affect those of us who are not in that industry. So just, can you imagine if you start losing your jobs, then where are you going to go if you don't have some type of skill of like electrician or someone who's preparing robots or knowing how to program a robot, because that's kind of where the jobs are going. Jobs, that is. Does not mean that you still cannot create your own entity in your own business, to use a robot to run your certain part of your business, but you're going to have to create something for the future, watching this change, because it's changing right in front of our eyes. And so the question is, what are you doing to keep up with the change? You see it happening. It's like, don't wait until it happens. And you say, well, what happened? It's like there are three types of people: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who will wonder what happened. Don't be the ones who wonder what happened. Be the one who either make something happen or at least watching it happen, so you're at least conscious to where you can try to be the one who is making something happen. But surely don't be the one who is stupid and ignorant, and then shit happens and you wonder what the fuck happened. What you mean? Where you been at all your life? Why didn't you know this was happening? Here it is, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the issue that's happening right now. It's in our face. We don't see it.
Yeah. And when you start thinking about that, you gotta sit back and pay attention to the way things are going so that you can figure out your next move. Maybe you should go to Liberated Minds Academy and learn some chess. They teach that a lot over there with Sister Layla, because you're gonna have to learn something new, or else you will get left behind. So I'm with you on that. Creating a business, things of that nature. As you do that, hey, you could study, get certifications now in the hey, look, that brother Diego Ramon, Diego Denson. We had him on the show, and self-made millionaire, right? When you talk about that cybersecurity gap in our country, that's what he does. He's got a lot of large clients, and he does it as a business. He's got a lot of large clients, and he travels all over because they fly him in or what have you. He does a lot of work remote. So he has the ability, at still in his 30s, he's a self-made millionaire. And to what we were talking about earlier, he said, Joe, I can help anybody become a millionaire, but you're going to have to make some sacrifices, and it's going to be the boring, 6 to 9 years of your life, depending on the individual. He said, I can take somebody at McDonald's and teach them how to be a millionaire. It's going to take about 9 years, but, I'll teach them where to put their money at, so that the money begins to multiply, how to save, on certain things. And so the possibility is out there. I think if most people were to sit there and write down their expenditures they'd probably realize where they're wasting a lot of money at it, and majority of it at is on food.
Yeah.
I would beg to say. But yeah, we did talk about that, BizBuzz, how Facebook changed its name to Metaverse. And so, like she's saying, other structures and policies within Facebook has also changed.
Yes.
And you probably should research that. I think after this show, I'm gonna go research some of that because you know, with that in mind, you never know what exposure or how you may be exposed to yourself in certain way. They already, you know, years ago, Facebook made up some policy change that they are the owner of pictures that you put up there. You know, so anytime you put pictures up there in any way, you know, video or whatever you do on this platform, they are the owners of.
That was the reason why when Facebook, you know, kicked me off a couple of times, several times. I'm always was getting kicked off. That was the reason why this last time I removed all my personal photos. I removed everything personal that I didn't want on Facebook. The reason why, because I removed my emotions. So if they cut me off, I could care damn if they cut me off because you ain't got my shit. So I remove all my emotions, which means I remove my personal photos off from Facebook because they control it. And so once a picture is out there, it's out there. You don't own that picture no more, right? You take a picture of your grandbaby or your daughter, little cute girl, and then you send it out there. Someone snatches it up, make a meme out of it, and then put it back out there, right? That's your child, right? And so, so I said, well, let me remove my emotions by taking my personal stuff off her. Now, when they shut me down again, I don't give a fuck, because you ain't got my shit no more. So yes, Facebook is changing. And here's what's interesting. Everybody need to know, Facebook is not a right. It's a fucking privilege. It is not our platform. This is their shit. What I like to just use their shit for is just educate as many people as I can, because here's what's changing. They are going to do more censorship. They are going to block you from saying stuff that there are certain articles that I wanted to put out on that was on MSNBC that was talking about whether it was about this governor in Florida. Do you know that I could not post it on my Facebook page? Yeah. Why is that? Why could not click that little Facebook button on MSNBC? Instead, Facebook tell me, nope, you're not authorized to post this article. So I ain't pissed because it's they shit. And we need to understand that. So you have to remove your emotions out of it, because I could care a fuck whether I'm on Facebook or not, right? So because Facebook is not paying me at this moment until I'm published and I create a book page, and Facebook is actually now I'm making money through it. Now, okay. But right now I could care a fuck about what Facebook's doing. But we need to pay attention to the changes that I made, the changes that are being made, and how we associate with those changes and what those changes mean to us as an individual. And so a lot of our emotion is tied to that shit. And you ain't getting paid from Facebook, but your emotion is tied into it, to where your whole life is a Facebook life, meaning that you think absent of Facebook, you feel less of a human being. That's what happens when you are on Facebook so goddamn much that you think that's your real fucking life, and it's not your real life. That's just some type of virtual shit that you can just play with, right? And we take this shit real, but it's not reality.
No, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. You know, it's one of those things, man. You know, another, and you know, I didn't say this earlier, and I need to make sure I give a big shout out to God's Lives Matter. They are yet another sponsor of ours as well. Every life has infinite value. So if you go check out godslivesmatter.com, they do have paraphernalia. They have a apparel link that you can click on. You can actually grab some God's Lives Matter garb. All right. So check them out, and you get a chance to email or talk to them in any way, then let them know that you heard it right here on the Tipping Point Show. As a matter of fact, we're going to have to create a discount for you guys to where you can order. I'm sure right now, if you were to email them and let them know that you heard it right here on the Tipping Point Show, they'll give you a little discount. But yeah, you know, like Kari Muhammad says, hey, business owners better build email lists. You know, you better start collecting those emails once again. I know we used to do that. That was a big thing. We sent out mass emails. We stopped doing that. Let's see, what else? I haven't had cable TV in my home since the 80s. Think about how much money you save with that, right? But the funny thing about cable to me, or all these subscription services now, I mean, right now you keep paying for stuff from, internet right off the bat and whatnot. They still package you together to where you can get phone, internet, and cable service for like $100 or whatever, right? But I choose personally to pay $70 and not have cable. I just have internet. That's it, right? And with that in mind, I'm not too far off from that bundled package, but I tell them all the time, like, no, I don't want the other stuff. I don't need the other stuff, But with that in mind, I guess I'm spending more money on internet. But who cares? Because that's all I want. But then when you start looking at subscription services and whatnot, right? Netflix and Disney Plus and Amazon and all these different subscription services, you end up pretty much, because you got to have internet first and foremost. So you end up paying, sometimes the same, if not more, than what you would if you had just had some type of cable service together, right? But it's crazy the way that this stuff is being billed out to where you still spending the money. Now the thing that gets me is when people spend that money, but they don't have life insurance.
That's crazy.
I hate. I'm sorry for going back to that, but I run through it all the time. It's people spending habits and everything else. I mean, you 50, 60, 70 years old, you ain't figured out how money work yet. And here you are at this age, and we over here having a conversation of trying to save, well, I can afford $25. Okay, good. That'll get you about $3,000 worth of cover. You know what I mean? Well, that's too much. No, you're 70. Okay, you got to understand age plays a part. So you ain't got it. Every year that you don't have it, the price goes up. Why? Because you're getting closer to the thing that they're going to have to cover, which is your death.
Yeah.
So of course it would cost more because you're more of a risk. So, but people, it costs too much. No, it when you were in your 20s, you could have paid $15 a month for the same amount of, $40,000 worth of whole life coverage. You could have paid $15, $20, when you were in your teens and 20s and 30s. You could have saved a bunch of money then if you had only gotten it then. But we, like you said, we're a microwave society, and people sit there. And if they can't feel it, if it ain't in their hands, it ain't real to them. So they don't pay for it. Us as a people, more so than others. I have the most problem with Black men than any other demographic than Black women. I have more problems with Black men than white women, than white men. I have more problems with Black men when it comes to sitting down talking about this coverage.
Wow. Interesting. And we're dying the most, but we don't want to talk about death and this coverage.
I mean, if you're gonna sit around and not focus on your health and even in a westernized manner by going and getting checkups, then the least you could do for your family, right? Because that's what life insurance is for. It ain't for you. It's not for when you die. It's for when they live. The least you could do for your family is get yourself some coverage.
Do you think if all young Black men had coverage, the shooting death will slow down and stop some? Because you'll be making a lot of families rich.
Man, I thought about that. I've thought about it plenty. And I believe that there would be a transition. Why? Because you start talking about lobbyists at that point. There are lobbyists out there for the insurance industry just the same. So if the insurance industry now started having to pay out a plethora of money for young Black men getting shot dead in the street, whether it's by police or whether it's by each other, however they get shot, dying at an alarming rate, then hell yeah, it would change. Shooting deaths would cease as far as it coming from, let's say, the police.
Wow.
You know, because the lobbyists out there, when you start making people, big corporate spend too much money that they don't want to spend, what do? They change the laws in some way, shape, or form. So that means they'll lobby out to the police unions and stuff like that. Say, hey, when you see black people, you might need to, hold that gun. Don't shoot first. Ask questions first, and then shoot. You know what I mean? They would make a change.
And they're probably
right? because you digging in their pockets at that point. They make a change. Rates would go up at that point. It would cost more. With COVID happening, again, i.e. more deaths, insurance rates went up. Life insurance rates went up. Car insurance rates went up. New questions on the application about COVID now. If you've been around somebody within the past 12 months, this is when COVID. You say yes to that question, they ain't trying to cover you.
Wow. Is that
what I mean? Yeah, you got to wait. And if you had COVID, you got to wait a year before you can even come back and look at getting coverage. And guess what? If you had COVID and you actually went to the doctor's office, is what I'm saying, because everything gets pulled from your medical information bureau, right? So if you actually went to the hospital, actually went to the doctor and was diagnosed with COVID, you hard pressed to get coverage right now.
Woo!
Right? That's a no, because they not trying to cover you. Because and look at what that says. You could have got covered. They talking about a whole year, because you could have got covered. You could have got COVID 6 months ago and be fine now. Same person you were before, the same person that got flu and, other viruses and stuff throughout your life. They ain't asked you about that, but they worried about COVID. So you could be 6 months away from having COVID, still can't get covered. They want to wait a year. Why? Because your monkey ass might have got the shot. And so with the adverse reactions of the shot, they trying to wait and see about that too.
Wow.
So think about it. Let's look at what's going on. Let's see. King Randall is a B1. I know King Randall. You know what? We need to go back and try to get him on the show. But he was on
B1.
B1 means black first.
Okay.
That's just how your boy Boyce Watkins. That's his thing,
gotcha.
Right? If you got to be B1. But King Randall is that brother. I forget what city it's in, what state. I want to say Detroit, but I'm not sure. But he, we talked about him. He's
the brother that started the school.
Yeah, and we shared a lot of his stuff on our page, because that brother right there, he's taking young kids, young brothers, and he's really changing their lives around. He started out with just doing it on his own, doing it in his own crib, and just grabbing kids in the community and pushing to help change their lives.
Yeah, he's the one that they say outdid Umar already.
Oh yeah. They comparing things to him, because he went out there and he's got a lot of he's got a lot of industry political pull, because people saw what he's doing. He was speaking on what he's doing. He's eloquent with everything that he's saying, and he ain't got no host scandals out there. He's pushing to do better, and he's showing proof of it. So that brother right there, shout out to King Randall. Absolutely. And let's see, Michael Bazin has created a platform, Mingle. There's a post on BizBuzz on that platform. Again, other people are creating their own platforms. Trump is creating another social media platform. So, I guess the idea behind that is giving people the authority to speak on things without being filtered out. Think about it. So many doctors who were normal doctors the day before that now get filtered out and be made to look like they're problematic. These were regular people.
Yes.
The day before,
Right.
they decided to stand up and make a comment and talk against what they believe when it comes to the COVID. Real doctors, but all of a sudden they're made to be like they're wrong and problematic, and Facebook filters it out as fake news or whatever, right? So people can't even speak their mind anymore. We're talking about freedom of speech being taken away. But again, take the burden off your family when it comes to life insurance, folks. Absolutely. Let's see. I said that on here before. The death plot on Black men would decease. Absolutely. I agree. When it comes to life insurance, I absolutely agree. You would see less of that, right? Frank Stoner says, please stop taking these fucking tests. You know, I guess he's talking about the COVID test, right? And let's see. The system shut down the school. Absolutely. But you know, we you know, it's a lot, man, and there's plenty conversation when it comes to all the different changes going on in our world and in our country. And you know, I just want to push everybody to be vigilant. Research as much as you can. Learn as much as you can about anything. There's nothing wrong with learning something new every day. I'm constantly trying to figure out how to learn something new every day. You catch John Yon in the morning, you know, he's got a bowl of something good that he's feeding his brain, and a book right beside it that he's reading with his feet up. You know, it's all about trying to gain knowledge, folks.
All the time.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know, people ask me all the time, why you research everything? You know, we ain't talking about you. But yeah, why does an egg have brown eggs have a little brown spot when you crack it? Yeah, I want to know. Yeah. So I'm about to ask Google, and I'm gonna go research, and I'm gonna figure some things out. Why? Because I need to know. Why would you not want to know? Why would you just sit there and crack that egg and see that brown spot and not know? You know what I mean? Like, you should want to know, you know, because it doesn't look normal. So you need to ask and figure that out. Now you can make a decision as to whether or not you want to keep eating these brown eggs. You know what I mean? I mean, again, intellectually lazy. Shout out to Omni Electra for bringing that phrase to the table. Intellectually
lazy. I like that.
Exactly. I mean, they got it. I can press a button for Google. I can go to my phone, press a button for Google, and I can speak and ask it what I need, and it will pull up results. And people are even too lazy to do that.
Intellectually lazy. I loved it.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with these intellectually lazy people.
Woo!
But
I tell you what, though. I tell you what you was talking about before we close about the children is very important. I think that children who are overweight, and I don't want to throw this out there, but I do blame the parents for feeding kids that mess. And as we had Dr. Akmal on the show talking about nutrition, that there is really no such thing as a fat person. What it is a person that is malnutritious. So, you know, being overweight means you actually are malnutritious. And so think of it as being a parent and you're not feeding your child and your child becomes very underweight. Would someone not call Child Protective Services on you? Well, in reverse, by your child eating foods that not nutritious, they just look fat. To you, they look like they're eating, but they're eating food that is not feeding them nutritiously. So guess what? They overweight. They are exactly the same as the parent who don't feed their child nothing and their child is underweight, sitting in the room real thin and lost all their weight. You will call the Child Protective Services on that parent faster than you will call it on the fat child, but they're both in the same condition. And it both goes to parents. The parents is at fault. And what happens is very interesting. When I was looking at this subject about this puberty blocker, it's a hormone blocker is what it is. It's a puberty blocker. And parents have to sign over to that to get, and luckily what I was reading was this doctor, this pediatrician, this doctor rejected it. and said, no, I'm not giving your child a puberty blocker. It doesn't make sense. It is like saying this. This is how stupid we have became. It is like people who make their dog vegan, knowing damn well their dog don't want to be no fucking vegan. He's a meat eater, but you're making him a vegan. It's the same stupidity. You're taking a boy and you want to give him a shot to make him a girl. He's not old enough to make that damn decision by himself. Somehow we have gotten into this delusion that it looks okay, but actually this is child abuse. This is actually a form of child abuse.
Because if your boy child comes to you and says, "Mommy, I think I'm really a girl," well, that's your fault too. Woo! You done fucked up somewhere along the way. Fucked up. I don't know what you watching. I don't know what music you listening to. You know, I don't know what soy protein food you continually feeding your child to where his chromosomes are now messed up. Guess what? It's your fault. I'm gonna say it. It's your fault as a parent. So again, and I like this comment from BizBuzz. She says, if the so-called cops had to have malpractice insurance, it would lessen the burden on citizens and maybe remove them from the police force. Those bad cops, right? So, that's another thought. And that conversation is out there about the cops needing to have malpractice insurance. I mean, I don't see why not. Anyone who has the ability to affect a person's life and death, just as doctors have to have malpractice insurance, I think officers should have malpractice insurance as well, because they have the ability to affect a person's life and death. I have the ability to affect a person in a fiduciary manner in life and death. I have to have errors and omissions insurance. My agency has to have separate errors and omissions insurance. So I'm like doubly insured here, errors and omission insurance. So that means that if I made an error and I potentially omitted something in an application or what have you, and someone sues me, then that insurance coverage is there for that. So that's what that's about. If I have to do it, why can't these cops do it?
Well, when you're talking about malpractice, that's a different ball game, because cops are working for an institution. The institution is what you sue. It's like a doctor who works for a hospital. You sue them in their individual and official capacity. What that means is that you're suing a cop individually, but you're also suing the department that he works for, individual and official capacity. So they don't need malpractice insurance. They already can be sued in their individual capacity along with their official capacity. So in other words, if a doctor is in private practice, he must have malpractice insurance for that purpose. It's no different than a person who's an electrician needs to be bonded, right? But if you're working for a company, it's the company that covers you. So the police department is supposed to cover the police officer. But let me tell you what they should do. What they should do is this, is that an officer just pulls the trigger of shooting someone, there should be some type of what I would say, if you sanction the officer for every time they pull the weapon and shooting someone, they will shoot someone less. They will pull their weapon less, and they'll try another method. In other words, if they had to pull their gun on somebody, there was some repercussion there. And even if they were in the right or wrong, it's the same as this. If you look at bullets and you made a bullet cost $100 a bullet, every bullet costs $100. You'll shoot it less, right? Because you don't want to waste your bullets. So it'll change the dynamics of things based on if you're looking at it from that perspective. Malpractice insurance for police officers, because that won't happen, because now who would want to be a police officer if they got to take out? It ain't like they're self-employed. It ain't like they're independent in their independency working for the police department or contracted to police department. The police department is responsible for those officers. The police department and the union itself should be sanctioned every time a police officer shoots someone. It's just that simple. In other words,
which at that point would help enforce proper protocol.
Correct.
Right.
So let's say, for instance, a person got shot, whether they got shot in the wrong or right, but the police department owed $100,000 to the family members of the person they shot every time they shot him, then that would change the game also, because that police officer would do less, knowing damn well he gonna make a family $100,000 richer, or make the person they shot $100,000 richer. You would kind of change the game, but we don't.
Well, and then even with that. Yeah, okay, we tax the unions and such like that. But if the police officer is found to have gone against protocol, then it should now fall on the shoulders of the police officer as well.
That's why that's why it's called the lawsuit called suing them in their individual and official capacity. Like I sued a judge before, and I filed a lawsuit against the judge in their individual and official. What that means is you can't hide from me. You can't hide under your official capacity. You hide under here because you have immunity under your official capacity. Well, guess what? I'm coming after you in your individual capacity, and that's a different ball game, because as a judge may have immunity by being a judge from being sued. As immunity under their official capacity, but they're not immune under their individual capacity. That's why that's why lawyers sue them. They have two different lawsuits on the individual and official capacity.
Absolutely, man. So that's a great conversation right there, and definitely something that we might need to touch on down the road as well. But again, good conversation this week.
Great show.
Once again, and always appreciate rocking with you, bro. And until next time, folks. Once again, I want to make sure everybody understands that God's Lives Matter .com. You can check them out. Every life has infinite value. Grab some of their apparel. You can check out healthdaddywow.net. Again, folks. This is a brother who has focused a lot on some study and years of experience. And this brother here hand packages a lot of product there. And I know last night I was just drinking one of his cleansing teas and whatnot. I drink a little bit, drink a cup before bed, because I think even when it comes to focusing on your health, getting back to basics is important. So you need to cleanse first. So again, healthdaddywow.net. And once again, sayababa.com, folks. Again, the best incense in the game. He's got people jumping on the website, shooting them emails that are ordering from all over the world, truth be told. So check it out. That's Brother John Yah. Again, Sayababa, SYABABA.com. And any last words before we jump out of here, bro?
Man, great show. Always pleasure rocking with you, man. So, I enjoy the people. I'm thankful for everyone to coming in and rocking with us on this show, to build with us. Appreciate you. This is what makes our difference every Saturday morning.
Absolutely. And until next time, folks, we will see you same place, same time. Remember, you can listen to us at WLOUonline.com. At the 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time hour. If you're local, you can hear us on 1350 a.m. as well as 104.7 FM. And you can also check us out on YouTube at the Tipping Point Morning Show as well. So do us a favor. We're just getting into some of these spaces. So hit us up on YouTube, share things from YouTube. We appreciate it. As well as Instagram. We're trying to beef up those spaces as well. So check us out at the Tipping Point Morning Show on Instagram. And again, folks, we will see you next week. Peace.
Peace and be well.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. Right here on WLOU. Stream it live on Facebook and WLOUonline.com. And now,